and move on to. So welcome to the OTF Connect session, Becoming a Google Ninja, Getting More Out of Core Google Apps for Education with Cameron Steltman. It's always nice to see people from all over Ontario joining us, and hopefully if you're viewing us at home, you'll see where your peers are located around Ontario. So I'm going to hand it over to Cameron, and he's going to start his presentation, and enjoy the evening.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that, Molly, and all the hard work you've put into this. If you look down on the chat, I'm just sending out the link one last time. Well, probably not the last time, but here's another chance to grab the link. So the way this session works is that we are going to see slides that I've created, but I created them in Google Slides because I'm all about becoming a Google Ninja. So you won't be actually able to access these slides by clicking on the blue links, but if you go to this link that I've just sent you, you actually have a chance to open up the slideshow, and then the links will be live to you, and you will have the slideshow with you forever. So you will have all the resources that I've created right there with you. So that may be one way in which you can do it. If you're on a mobile device, maybe it won't work quite as well, but do let me know and give me some feedback about how that's going. I'm pretty sure I'd gotten some feedback that the link was working. So yeah, that should work well. I'll just post that link one last time just for Lisa. And Lisa, welcome. Thank you for joining us. Here's the link for you. And let's get going. So, becoming a Google Ninja with Choose Your Own Adventure Stories. So, I'm Cameron Steltman, and Jennifer already followed me on Twitter, but I am at Mr. Steltman on Twitter, and there you can see all sorts of the different things I do with my class on a daily basis. So, we know that becoming a Google Ninja, it's going to give us some great power, but with great power comes great responsibility. So thank you so much for coming today. I really appreciate that you've taken time out of your daily, very, very busy lives right now as a teacher. I know it's just crazy. My report cards were due yesterday, so it's just wild time. So thank you for taking that time to come here and learn about another tool that you can use to engage your students. A few housekeeping items before we get going. I'm a grade 5 teacher in Burlington at John T. Tuck. We saw where everyone was from. Lisa, as you just joined us, or anybody who hasn't let us know where you're from, if you want to just pop that into the chat, just make sure we know that the chat is working. When I looked at the course description, it was a little misleading. Today we're going to be working on going a mile deep with Google Slides to create these engaging Choose Your Own Adventure stories, and then using Google Forms to create a feedback loop so we can work through the full editing process with your students. So whether your kids are in grade 1 or in grade 8, these are going to give us a chance to really build a whole entire story that also focuses on the editing and the feedback, peer and teacher, all in a timely, descriptive way. So I really, really like these stories, but the course description said we were going to do many, many things, some of which there will not be time for. At the end, I do have some bonus things that we can talk about when there's time. As you can probably tell already, I sometimes do speak too quickly. Please use the chat feature to let me know if you need me to slow down at any point. I'm happy to take a break, repeat, just let me know. I'm wide open. This is my first time doing an OTF Connects webinar. Last year I worked with EDFO doing some EDFO webinars. So it's neat to see the way the two different things work, and yeah, I'm really excited to get going. So before we get started, any questions? I see that Laura's typing, so I'm just going to let her type her question in there, and yeah, then we'll get going. It's exactly 7:30 now, so I do want to give people those chance. Welcome, Buffy, to join if they're coming right on time. And I will post the link one last time. Probably not, that's true. We're just getting started, so we are ready to get going. And yeah, let's do it. So, who remembers? Oh, Laura, that's such a kind thing for you to say. That's very, very nice. Who remembers doing Choose Your Own Adventure Story? Can you raise your hand on the raise your hand using the tools? Yeah. Awesome. So great. Choose Your Own Adventure Stories were one of the highlights of my childhood reading. It was one of those things that really engaged me in reading. When I could pick up one of these books and then read a few pages, get invested in the characters, and then I was a bit of a cheater. I would always go to the very last page so I didn't die, and then kind of read backwards from there to try and figure out the best version of the story so that I never got any of the bad things happening to me. thought he was a cheater. But these are such a fun way to get kids to read. And the best thing about this is now we get to move them into the 21st century. We're going to use integrated curriculum. So whether you're a science teacher, a music teacher, social studies, language, whatever, French teachers, we can do this in an integrated way. Everyone can use Choose Your Own Adventure Stories. It's an extremely simple concept that we can take and push further and further. We're going to integrate images. We're going to put in videos. There's going to be links, maybe to your website, to other learnings they've had, background information on characters. It's a wide open template, and the only limitation is your student's imagination and how much you can give them. So just a really, really fun way to teach writing. So let's carry on. So why should we use a Choose Your Own Adventure Story? Well, I'm going to actually ask that Molly please put up the Sean Else Rocks OCT magazine article link. The first thing is, actually, you know what, Molly? Could you please play the video? We'll do that first, and then we can talk about it.
Which video is that?
It's called the Why Use a Choose Your Own Adventure.
Okay. So we'll try it this way.
All right.
Living on the edge. And I'll also put it in the chat box.
Well, one good reason for this one is my former mentor teacher, and a friend of mine, who's actually featured in this magazine. And they talked about how your adventure stories to teach the rock cycle. And he was talking about how it works really, really well to students' process. So if you want to look at that article, the link is available in our slideshow right here. The second reason, and the reason I just started getting into it, is I introduced it to my students in grade 6. And I had some students who just loved the idea. They thought, this is great. And they wanted to do one on their own. And so what it ended up being is a group of 4 boys, none of whom were really friends before they started, but they were all kind of interested in Five Nights at Freddy. This was 2 or 3 years ago. And what they were able to do is create a slideshow that had animations. I'll just show it to you. It has animation. It has links to quizzes to find out what character you are. It has music that plays in the background while you do it. And as you go through, you can get a word before you begin. Like, they just learned so much about a media form for it and connecting with their readers that it was just incredible. And they did the vast majority of this at home on their own because they just really, really enjoyed doing it. So I'm going to skip this first section, and we can start by reading the story. So it starts out, help wanted. There's a job. Let's get that job. So we go through the slides. Somebody calls him. Uh-oh, there's too much static to hear him. And we carry on. It's dark and spooky. I just have to stay until 6 a.m. You mean the animatronics? Security camera shows something wrong. All animatronics are still there. Let's check camera 11. This is where we start getting choices. So after I'm going to give you a template where we work through 12 slides. These boys had already done that and had already worked through that template and understood how it all worked, and then they were able to go and create something completely on their own. So they didn't use the template at all. They have many, many choices, far more than I did, and they were just able to make it all work. So now we have a choice. Should we Awesome, thank you. So, oh, that was kind of funny. I feel like I was thanking myself there a little bit, but yeah. So that's the why. My students love this, and I've now put this into so many classrooms, and all the feedback I've gotten from people at the OTF PD sessions I do in the summer or anywhere where we've shown these, when people use these with their students, they just get so much more writing, so much more content out of their kids, and it is incredible. So let's talk about how we can do it. So let's head back to the whiteboard, into our slideshow here, and let's get through. Oh, thanks for that feedback, Jennifer. That means so much. That's great. Welcome, JC. You just missed one slide on the why we're using a Choose Your Own Adventure, but you've signed up for Choose Your Own Adventure story, so we think that you probably know why. And if you would like access to the video that explains the why, it is right here in the chat in about 5 sentences above us. If anybody who has just come wants to join along and follow along with our slideshow, it is right here, I believe. There's a link to our slideshow if you'd like the live one. So what's the other reason we're doing it? Well, what's the reason we were teaching writing? The curriculum. And in language, in our language curriculum, on page 12 in writing, it says, by putting their thoughts into words and supporting the words with visual images and a range of media, students acquire knowledge and deepen their understanding of content in all school subjects, the integration we were talking about. Writing also helps students to better understand their own thoughts and feelings and events in their lives. So that's exactly what we're doing here. We're using visual images. We're using a huge range of media. And we're doing it in a way that the students want to write. So I'm all about the why. So now let's learn really, like, how do we do this? Well, the first step is building a flowchart. So the very first time I teach this to my students, I give them a flowchart, which I'm going to give you in 1 minute. And actually, Molly, if you can put out the link for the flowchart, then people can open that up on their own computers. But the flowchart I find is so helpful the first time, or if you're working with younger students, because what this flowchart does is it really, really makes it clear what you have to do the first time, because this is a simple way in which students can do it so that they will not get lost in the process. They can just follow what it says, do the slides, make the links. They're going to make one once, and then they're going to be like, oh, okay, I got it. Now can I do a whole different one? Can I have more of the choices? Can I add a whole bunch of different options? And the answer is always yes. So it's such a helpful tool, this slideshow. So you start out on slide 1, we work through the title. You can put in a picture, your names of your group if you're doing it collaboratively. Joy of Google Slides is that you can work collaboratively. A lot of my students found they'd start out collaboratively, but then they'd have very different ideas about which ways they wanted to go with their story, so they all ended up doing their own. And slide 2, we start our story, and this is where we start building character, and we can talk about those things, teach to those concepts, and telling all about the character there. Then we go into slide 3 where we talk about setting, and we build that setting. We talk about how do we use the senses in our setting. And then the character gets to make their first choice. And if they choose slide A, you go to slide 4. And if they make a choice of slide B, you go to slide 8. So this is where the first choice comes in. And then if you go to slide 4, you're continuing with what happens if they chose A, and they move on to slide 5. The story kind of continues. Then they're in slide 5, and then becomes another choice. And you can choose to go through the red door or go through the blue door. And if you go through the red door, you're at your very first ending on slide 6, and slide 6 has a link to slide 12, which is your official ending form, and then there will be 4 endings. So what you get if you follow this storyline or this flowchart the first time is you get a story where a character ends up making 3 that can make 1, 2 choices, but there's 4 different possible endings. So one of them can be a positive ending. Students always, like I said in the video, somebody always dies in one of them. And if you're not interested in having them do that, make sure you tell them. But what they can do is some will make it like a game. So only one of them is a winning ending. And once they've done it once, then they will, again, like you saw on that 54 slide or 75 slide Choose Your Own Adventure story, they will take this and run with this and create things you can't even imagine. It's so incredible. So that's the flowchart, and if you look in the chat, there's the link to it. So you can have that open, and what I always tell my students, I actually print it out for them. I'm not a huge fan of paper, but I think if students have this right in front of them, they can also use it as sort of a graphic organizer. They can write down, okay, well, what are the main points that we want to have happen here? What are the choices we want to make? And they can kind of lay it out before they do it on the computer. And that tends to work quite well. I'm going to pause right there. Is there any questions about the flowchart or anything from that video yet? Groovy. All right, let's keep going then. So today we're going to build one. You're going to build your very own Choose Your Own Adventure story. You're going to post the link in there, and we're going to be able to see the kind of things that you come up with, but we won't be able to do that if we don't know how. So what's going to happen is there's going to be a video. It's about 9.5 minutes long, where it's going to teach you exactly how to build one. Then if you have any questions about the nitpicky little things or any specific questions, you can ask, and then you're going to get 15 minutes to build one yourself and share it, and then we'll be able to talk further. So Molly, if you could get the Building a Choose Your Own Adventure Story video up, we'll have 9.5 minutes to explore that.
So we can. I put the link in the chat. If you would like to watch it on your own device, just click on the link, and I will also put the link in the room so that we can watch it together. And when you finished watching, can you just press the check mark, and then we'll know that you're done.
Oh, sorry, not this one. Here, I will put. Sorry, Molly. Let me just grab the link then for the proper one, and we'll pop that one in there. Here we go. And here we are. So this is the link, and hopefully that works on your own device. And Molly, is there, actually, can I try the application sharing or the web tour and try and paste it in there myself? Flipping back and forth. Awesome. So thank you very much. If you're watching that on your own and you want to just give me a thumbs up when you've watched that, I'd appreciate it. This is going to be our chance to kind of build one. And the reason we're watching videos as opposed to me showcasing exactly how to do this is just through this Blackboard format, I'm not able to do a full screen share. We weren't confident in its ability to screen share, so I created videos then that hopefully showcase the vast majority of what we want to do. So what we're going to do now, though, is I'm going to give you 15 minutes to build your own or start building your own Choose Your Own Adventure Story, and I'm right here to help with any questions you have. So we can even try to showcase, I can try the screen share thing if you have a specific question. But what we're going to do is we're going to create a Choose Your Own Adventure Story, build through it, maybe just like I did in my video, just work through 1/2 of that Choose Your Own Adventure Story. And then what we'd like is for you to share that Choose Your Own Adventure Story. So maybe I'll just show the sharing video first, so this way if you had any specific questions about yours, you can share your slideshow with the whole group, and we can all kind of learn from each other that way. So I think Molly had actually put up the link on how to share right here. So I will copy it. This is the link to, it's a 2-minute video on just how to share. Let me just copy. There it is. So we now have 15 minutes to create our own. And what I'd really like is for us to have a chance to build one. You will see so much more and you'll get so much more out of it as you start to do it. So some challenges for yourself are to maybe build a shell of a story. You don't have to complete the whole story. Oftentimes if I present this idea at conferences, I will have people who get right into the idea and they build deep, deep stories with great paragraphs and characters and all these awesome ideas. But they don't, with the focus on that, they don't necessarily see how the whole process works. So take 15 minutes, build a shell of a storyline, and see if you can insert pictures. See if you can crop a picture. See if you can insert a GIF, which is one of those moving pictures. And see what you can do to create your own. If you have any questions, paste them here, and I can help you out. As you've created one or half of one, if you could share it with us, then we can all learn from it. So I'm going to flip to this slide. Feel free to make a copy of that flowchart if you like, and let's create your own adventure story. So Molly, if you could put up the 15-minute timer, and if you guys could either write down, let me know what you're doing, or what you need from me at this point, I'm here for any questions. Thank you so much. Thanks for the great question there, Laura. It is a challenge. Music is certainly a challenge when you're using the choose your own adventure stories, or you know what, music is a challenge anytime you use Google Slides. That is a huge, huge issue that it just doesn't match up with the power of PowerPoint on that. To have music playing, you have to have a YouTube video playing in the background, and that's the only way to get music into the actual slideshow. So that's kind of unfortunate. It's a downside. I know a lot of my students, what they do is they'll just set the YouTube video to play the last 30 seconds of a song, and then that seems to work for them. It's something that you got to find some workarounds for. One way we've done it is we've had our students screencast their stories when they're reading them as choices, and then have music playing on the computer so you can hear that. But that kind of takes away from the interactivity of the story too. So music is just one of those things that we can't do too much about. Sorry. Yeah, with the YouTube video, you can have it in the background, you can have it play on the slide, and it will just play as long as that slide is happening, and then when you go to the next slide, it'll stop. The flowchart too is such a key thing for teaching your students to flip between the two tabs to say, okay, yes, you're in a big idea, but you need to know where your story is going. So let's stay organized. Let's stay organized, and which is why I often do print it out for them as well, so that they can have it and write right on it about what exactly they need to do. If anybody else has any questions, or if you need more time, less time, anything like that, we're coming into the last 2 minutes of this amount of time, but I'd love to see which ones you can share, what you managed to come up with. If you share your links here, we'll try and do a web tour and click on them and see if we can actually go to 1 or 2 of them, which would be great if you can share them. So yeah, about 1.5 minutes, and then we can just do a quick check-in. Oh, great question, Buffy. To add a moving picture, you're going to insert an image by URL. So what I do is I open a new tab in Google Chrome, and I search the picture, so like cat moving. And they're called GIFs, so if you put GIF behind your search, you're going to get some images that have cats that are moving. And what happens there is once you see that picture, if you click View Image, it'll take you to the website, and the address will be up at the top. If you copy that, so I'll do that here on my search bar, and paste this URL, like the URL that you found, it will actually put that moving picture right into your slideshow. Let me know if that works or if that explanation is clear. All right, and that is our 15-minute timer. Did people, it sounds like people are adding pictures and working through this. Did people want 5 more minutes? Would you like to share what you've got now? If you could just use the chat feature to let me know exactly where you're at so that I know exactly where to go. That's 1 vote for 5 minutes. There's 2. All right, if we get that 3rd one, we'll hit that 5 minutes for sure. Perfect. Let's do 5 more minutes, and then we can share our stories. I'm excited. All the detail that must be going into them. This will be great. Thanks, Molly, for putting that up there. And again, feel free to ask questions as they come up. Whatever you need, I can try and talk you through it. We can even at some point attempt to screen share and see if that works. But just let me know what you need. Hey Buffy, try one different GIF, but make sure that when you search it and then you find the image, you click on View Image and copy and paste. Try one more. I mean, not all of them will work. Some of them are in different formats, but most of them should. So try it one more time, and if it doesn't work a second time, let me know, and hopefully I can screen share how I do it. All right. Is there anyone who would be willing to play with those sharing settings? Click on the blue share button in the top right corner. Click Advanced and change it to anyone with a link can view, and paste it here in the chat so that we can see what you've created. All right, thank you so much, Janet. So here's what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy Janet's link here, and we are going to go on a tour of it together to see what she's done in a web tour. So here we go. Let's see what Janet did. So here we go. We can see that she has done it view only, and we can see everybody has joined us along here to see what she's created. So she's created her haunted house, choose your own adventure. The key to doing a choose your own adventure story, and thank you again for sharing, Janet, is the presentation part. So you want to share it in present mode because this will make it so that the links happen automatically. If you're not in present mode, when you click on a link, then a little blue link appears right underneath it. So we're in the haunted house, choose your own adventure. So we go through our slides. Halloween night, October 2017. The moon is full and the night is young. You are on your way to meet your friends to go out trick-or-treating. You begged your mom to buy you this costume and you're excited to share it with your friends. Two choices. You go inside. You're on a mission to meet your friends. I have to agree, Laura, these background images are so good. And this is a great time to speak to your class, too, about those kind of choices that you make in media and choices that people make when they're building movies or comic books. I am going to go inside. This isn't as scary as it seems. You hear a commotion and head towards the sound. Oh, awesome. Slide Carnival is an amazing tool. For those who have not visited it, I will put it into the slideshow at the end, but if you Google Slides Carnival, it's hundreds of free slide templates for people that you can use and share with your kids, especially if you start getting sick of the ones that you always see through Google. Let's carry on through the story. So we can see here, too, that she's made a text box here so that it feels like it's not getting lost in the images. Students will often do it so that they kind of get lost in the images. This is a great way to do that. Was this a good idea? Well, it seemed all right to me. Yes, let's keep going. As you continue, you see a ghost and faint. What happened here is as we finish slide 6, this is an ending. We've fainted. So what Janet gets to do next now is she can put a link into this slide to go to slide 12 to say, Happy Halloween. And there she is. And then she's created 1/4 of her story. So thank you so much for sharing that, Janet. That's awesome. It's kind of a good example of how we can use these. Did anybody else have any comments, questions, or things they wanted to share before we move on? Okay, let's do it then. Let's carry through. Let's work our way through the cycle. So we built one. We built our own. We had bonus time. It was your turn. We paused for questions one last time. This is a sweet moving picture, a sweet GIF that said stop hammer time, but all you're getting is stop with a picture of MC Hammer. Later, it moves on. So if you're in the actual slideshow, I know that you're seeing that. You're getting the full experience for that. As we go through, now we're going to talk about completing the writing cycle. So this is where we're able to give feedback. And I have 2 different ways to get that we use feedback in the Choose Your Own Adventure stories. Choose Your Own Adventure stories are a huge focus in my class on editing, on the importance of editing. And so what we do is we actually do it at 2 different points in the process. So when we are working on our slides, like Jennifer was just doing, or like Janet just showed us, when she's finished that kind of part, this is when we start using the commenting feature of Google Slides. And I have a quick video that shows that, but can I just see, actually, Molly, can we just play the comments and slides video for completing the writing cycle feedback? I think it's only about 1.5 minutes. All right, you know what? Here is what we will do. We will go to the URL, and here's the video. So the comment feature is highly underutilized, I believe. It just allows kids to, when they've shared their work with their peers, they can give feedback to each other back and forth. And as Janet's mentioned, if you use the plus sign or at a student's name, it'll notify the student that they have a comment, and then you can assign it to them, and they have to actually like mark it as done. So I used this already this year. We did collaborative introductions. So we were working on introductions, and everybody wrote their own introduction on their own slide, all inside of the same class slideshow. And inside, then, they were able to go and read through each other's work, which they were so excited about, that they could see each other's work happening in real time, but also they really could give each other feedback that was meaningful to them by leaving comments. So they were like, oh, I'm not sure about this idea, or you should really check out your commas or your periods, or why do you have 7 exclamation marks in a row? It's unnecessary. And what we really talked about too was the idea that it's not criticism, it's constructive criticism. We are saying things to make it better. It's always nice to hear good job, but it doesn't help us make our product better. So our big focus is to get more feedback from our peers before we do it. And then so after they do the comments and slides feature, and they've gone through and resolved all the comments and they think it's good to go, then they build a Google form to get feedback from the people who are going to read their story, their parents, their grandparents, anybody else that they decide to share it with. We often share with other classes, and then we use the feedback form this way. So here's how you can build a Google form with your students, and so how they can do it themselves as well. Here's a link to the video, and here is the actual video.
Cameron, sorry, I can't seem to type in the chat box. I've been booted out. I've been booted out 3 times in the past couple minutes.
Okay, no worries. Sorry, Molly, I couldn't pause that for a second. That's no problem at all. It's okay. All right, so that's the building their own feedback form. And I like this as kind of an introduction to forms for students because there's only 3 questions and you can play with different question types. Laura, that comment is so awesome. I don't have them share their form responses with me because I want them to use it. I do always check in with them to see, and they're always pretty excited to share them with me. But I make sure that I'm always doing one of them. Like, this is a great time, and I use that last paragraph question to really give them my feedback to say, like, this is what you've done really, really well, and this is what you can work on. And then it sends it to them, and they are so excited. They're like, Mr. Steltman sent me something back. And then all their friends did it. And if we have parents in, so anytime we do a project now, we use a form to get feedback from it. And so we'll be doing a big Wonder project, and we'll invite all the parents in. And as a part of that project, they will create a feedback form to get feedback from parents so that they can use what they've done and learn how to be better the next time. So you can have your students share the form. It's as easy as clicking that share button and typing in your email, and then you can see all the feedback that they get as well. But my kids really like it. It's their feedback. They own it, and they kind of take it and go with it. It can be a little life-changing. The Google Form is such a powerful tool. We could do a full hour-and-a-half on Google Forms. But what I'd really, really like now is, can I give you guys 5 minutes to just create maybe a 1-question form or 2-question form, play with just a couple of the features I talked about, and then you can put it right, and then see if you can link it into your Choose Your Own Adventure story. Because that's the joy of those Google Slides. They can link to other slides, but they also link to outside sources. So maybe it's linking to, at the very end, it says, the end, you get feedback, and then there's another link in there that says, also, are you ready to learn about this? Or it's just so convenient. So I'd really like to give you a chance to build your own, that real hands-on experience. I know I'm not getting the face-to-face interaction that I'm used to when I do these presentations, but please try and make a form and ask if you have any questions. We'll give you guys five minutes for that. I hope it's probably not going to be enough, but hopefully it's a good check. And thanks for popping that up there, Mally. So 5 minutes, ask us any questions. Anik, that's a brilliant idea with QR codes. You can do that, and there's actually a tool called the Google URL Shortener that if you were previewing your form and you clicked Google URL Shortener, it'll automatically make a QR code for you and track the data. It's really, really cool. So, yeah, lots of ideas. Please keep sharing like Anik is and Miss Anderson is. Just so great. So thank you. And see if you can make a form. How about now, Buffy? Is that working? I turned it off, and everybody's just using this time to build their own Google Forms. So hopefully that was the issue. I know it's being a little bit wonky for you over there. So sorry that that's happening. So right now, everybody's just trying. Oh, thank you, Janet. You are on fire tonight. I will fill out that form for you, and if anybody else wants to fill it out, then Janet gets the results, and she can see what people are saying, and just as kind of an example for what's happening there when someone fills it out. Oh, and Halloween themed. So here's what I'll do. I'm going to take that link, and I will do it. Okay, I'll wait. I'm going to take that link, and we'll do it. Yeah, we're just practicing building a form for feedback. Am I good to go through the form, Janet? All right, as I flip over to our document is running on it. Okay, well, let's just see how it looks so that people can see it. So what we can see is she's titled it Feedback Form. She can even put the success criteria right into the help text right at the top there, which is just such a great idea, and I really, really do appreciate that. Thanks, Janet. You can build that success criteria right there so that when kids are filling out each other's, they're like, oh, did they do this? Did they do this? Did they do this? So you can do a drop down and pick your name, and you can see that she's actually using her student's name. So this is something she's going to use with her students this week or hopefully soon. So that's amazing. You can say how you did, all of that. You submit it. So I'm not going to fill it out because she's actually going to use it with the students and she doesn't want my feedback on it. But I think it's such a cool thing that you can just get quick snapshots from lots of kids. Yeah, and that's the joy of Google Forms. Is there anybody else who created a form that wants to share? We'll give you like 15, 20 seconds to maybe if you want to share that. If not, no worries, and thank you to those who have. When you're all done and you've got your feedback in there, then it's all about how do we get them out to the world? How do you get these stories out to the broader public? And the absolute best part of Choose Your Own Adventures is when the students are able to read and give their feedback to each other. They're so engaged in the writing, and don't get me wrong, this is a long process. These Choose Your Own Adventure stories are not like a 60-minute class and you're done. You're committing to this for some periods in a row for sure. But they're going to be crazy excited about doing it. Like when my kids do it, it's like silent in the room. They're just so focused, except when they have a question, and then they ask each other before they ask me. It's really, really powerful. But know that it does take a long time. The stories are so fun when they're finished. So when they have got their feedback forms, everything's done, we post them out somewhere. So some options for sharing your stories are you can create a spreadsheet in Google Sheets and share it with your whole class. Each student takes a row and posts it. If you're not into using that part of Google or you're not comfortable with that, if you create a Padlet on Padlet.com, I'm not sure how many people have seen it, but Padlet.com is a really, really, what it is a blank board that allows students to just post. It's very user-friendly, it's free for teachers, and I would recommend if you're not interested in sharing via Google Classroom, Padlet might be your best bet. My favorite version is My favorite version is Google Classroom. I like it just because it makes it clear. I make my post and all the students comment their stories underneath it with their links, and they're good to go. I have talked to some FSL teachers who were doing this in their classrooms. They had it. The key was just switching the keyboard over, and then they even did it so that there was like pictures. Anytime they put a picture, they had to write what the picture was in French. But yeah, it definitely can be converted to FSL as long as they've got the keyboard switched over to French. So after you've shared it, but make sure that you're focusing on that feedback piece with your students. Make sure that the students go to that feedback and then change their work after it so that they know that nothing's ever perfect, nothing's ever done. They can go back there and they can do it again. And just not again, but actually go in there and make it as good as it possibly can be. And then when my students are all done with it, what they do is they post them on their websites. My students have Google Sites, and they post their slideshow on the website because it's gone through the feedback process, and it works awesome. And that's your own adventure stories. So I want to thank you so much for coming. If you have any questions, post them here. If you can always email me at steltmanc@acsba.ca, or I can be found on Twitter at Mr. Steltman. I've been really big into using Twitter this year. I use it as a lot of snapshots from my classroom, so if you're just interested in, oh, what's happening in this grade 5 classroom, it's a great place to go if you're interested. And the presentation is here. And if there are any questions, I've got 3 bonus things I can show you with our last 5 minutes, and then yeah, you're on to enjoy the rest of your evening, and hopefully not too many corrections on progress reports. No questions? Let me show you these other 3 cool things. So if you're not using slides regularly in your practice and you have the ability to, as a teacher, I find them such a handy tool. So I use them for day plans, and there's the day plan example coming up, and I'm going to copy that link and put it in the web tour. I use it these are actual day plans from last year. What I like about it is it just allows me to lay out a day for my students in a consistent manner, and it always, because I just have my projector on with the slide of whatever I'm teaching on up at there, it's a visual reminder of what are we supposed to be working on. So when my students walk in, they've got their agenda message, and they've got 2 math questions they can choose from. We take up math, we talk about whatever it is we happen to be working on, so for that day it's inanimate Alice. You can put images right on there, and then so we could practice with our protractors. You can work with shapes, so this will be a lesson. This will just jog my memory of a lesson, and it can say, now you're working on your own. Here's what you need to do. And if someone raises their hand, what am I supposed to be doing? Well, have you looked up at the board? It says create this, then do this, then do that. So as day plans, it's very, very handy. You can include video. You can include links to questions and answers. I really like it to keep myself organized as a teacher. Anik has got a great comment here. He says he's been using, or she, sorry, I've been using them for reading responses this year. Each student takes a slide of their responses, then comments on the response of 2 peers. Yeah, we're building that collaborative feedback right in there. Another neat option is Hyperdocs stories. And Molly's putting it up right now, and I will copy that link again and show you what I can show you. It's so cool. Hyperdocs you've probably been hearing a lot about lately. Everybody's talking Hyperdocs. Excuse me. And there was a Hyperdoc template available for people. So I allowed my students last year, it was how do you create, so after our novel study, can you create a Hyperdoc that would work for the novel you did as a group? So the groups worked together to create a teacher resource. It's not letting me slide through it. I think it's probably a bit complex the way they've done it. They've got animations on all their slides. But these students created their own book trailer, and they went through and created this. They talked about the vocabulary. And each of these are links to either the dictionary or a video, but they showcased their understanding of the novel in a totally different way, and then had it so that it was something that they could give to teachers about the story Fish in a Tree. So Hyperdocs are another really cool way, and if you have any questions about that, feel free to email me. And the last thing is the thing I'd been speaking about earlier was the collaborative group writing with feedback. So I'm going to grab that link, and then what we can do is I can show you that, because this was also a very, very neat thing that we did actually this year. So let's pull it up. Here's the link if you would like to follow along for yourself. And here it is so that we can all see what I'm talking about, including me. So actually this was last year's, I did a similar thing this year, but what we talked about was persuasive writing. How do we use the different rhetorical strategies in advertising? Where do we see in advertising actually in the media? And so I built the challenge right on the first slide, shared it with the whole classroom so that any of them could edit it. And then what we did is we talked about what each one means, and then they had to find examples of each of the rhetorical strategies in print ads. And they did such an incredible job of going through, finding them, and then they started leaving feedback. And then as we go to the bottom, you can see that slides give you hundreds of options. They had to build their own persuasive ad on a slide right there, and then they would give each other feedback. I removed the feedback because it had their last names attached to it, but this is what they did. It was such a neat way for them to explore the rhetorical strategies and explore media literacy, and it's all through slides. I just can't say enough good things about using Google Slides. The ideas are almost endless. So that takes us to 10-2, and I just want to say thank you again so much for coming. I hope you got a chance to really build something and walk through the idea or connect with it. Again, for me, it's such a different feeling doing it like this as opposed to seeing your faces. So I hope that it worked for you. I hope that you guys really got something out of it. And know that if you have any questions or need anything, you can email me, and I'll be on for the next 5-10 minutes too to answer any more questions you might have. Thank you so much. Have a great night.
And thank you so much, Cameron, for that fabulous creative presentation. I am very sorry I kept getting booted out of the room, so